All right. Hello, Periscopians in Periscope land. It's Heath again. Going to talk about something cool today, which is the three centers of intelligence. And would love to see where you're from. I'm from the very wonderfully rainy section of California, known as the Monterey Bay region. I live in the mountains near Santa Cruz, California, and I'm loving this rain. As you can see, I have some Celtic heritage, so I think there's just some kind of ancestral love of rain going on. So, yeah, if you're on here, just send up a little note, let me know where you're from, and that's always fun to see where people are looking in from. All right, well, let's get going. I got some notes here I got to pull up because I know what I'm talking about, but I want to make sure I don't forget any important stuff. So last week we talked about some of the myths regarding a personality model called the Enneagram. And it's a really wonderful model of human behavior that helps you understand why you do the things that you do so that you can choose to stop doing them if you want to, because that's going to give you more free will. That's going to enable you to find your authentic self and live out your destiny and give God maximum glory with your life. And that's what I am all about. I have a company called Dearly Beloved Personal Discovery Programs. And if you're interested, you can catch that at on Facebook at Dearly Beloved Programs. You can also catch me on Twitter at Heath D. Havlick. And I have a website as well with my blog, and that is uncoverydiscovery.com, because we're uncovering our true selves. We're digging through the stuff to find out who we actually are inside. Okay. All right. So let's talk about the centers. So the centers of intelligence just means the way that people process information, how they filter it. Okay. And there's three main ways of doing that. We use all three, but for each of us, there is a home base. Just like for each of us, there's a home base of our personality. All right, so I'm going to show you the little diagram here, okay? All right, can you see that? So we've got the doing center, which is the 8s, 9s, and 1s. All right, you've got the thinking center, the 7s, 6, and 5, and you've got the feeling center, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so let's talk about that doing center first. Okay, that's also called the gut center. And these are folks who really process the world with kind of gut reactions. And those can look different for each type, but that's the way that they are filtering information that's coming to them from the outside world. Okay, so these are people for whom the phrase, going with their gut makes a lot of sense, and that's their default behavior. Okay, they really can feel things in their bodies. These people tend to resist reality a little more than the rest of us. All of us do it to some degree, but they tend to be people who resist. So the 8s, for instance, in this group are called the challenger, and they have a need to be against. They're always pushing against something. And in the larger sense, they are arguing with reality in the most forceful and expressive way of all the types. The 9s tend to resist reality by retreating from it. So if anything gets uncomfortable or inconvenient for them that starts to affect their peace, then they're like, forget it. I am not going to be present. I'm going to just retreat in my mind to my happy little special garden and not deal with it. That's how they resist reality. And 1s tend to resist reality by insisting that they and everyone else be good and right all the time. And that can get pretty exhausting. All right. So that's the 8, 9s, and 1s. They are the doing types or the gut types. They're also called body types. Okay, body, gut, same thing. And there is a central emotion associated with each one of these centers. So for the doing center, the 8 1s and 9s, the emotional attachment there is anger. So they're all angry about something, a specific thing, and that has to do with the core wounding beliefs that each type has about themselves and the world. All right, so that's what is going on with the gut types. So let's have a look at the feeling types, okay? So we've got types 2, 3, and 4, the feelers of the world. They're also called heart types because, of course, we think about emotions coming from the heart, though, of course, we know that's not exactly true, just where it feels like they come from a lot of the time. So their emotion that they are kind of most attached to, most identified with, is shame, because their central question is, who am I? Okay, so they're very concerned with self-image, and they have trouble distinguishing between what they believe about themselves and who they actually are. That's most easily seen in the 3s, for instance, because 3s are very much about external image, and so they want always to look good in front of other people. It's not necessarily physically. That is one of the versions of 3, the sexual 3, and we'll talk about instinctual types or instinctual variants on another broadcast. But just know for now that sometimes 3s will do everything they can to look beautiful and perfect. These are sort of the Barbies and Kens of the world. And that's the most important thing for them, is to look physically attractive and appealing to other people, because they believe that that's what makes them valuable. Okay. The 2s have a hard time distinguishing between who they are and what they do, because they are feeling types who do. Okay, so they are all about relationships, and to them, relationships are very active things, and they are constantly working to make themselves look good to other people by being the best friend, the best mom, the best spouse, whatever. Okay, and then we have the 4s, and they're very focused on being authentic, being true to themselves. And so they really are focused on creating an image that conveys that specialness, that usually artistic bent that they feel about themselves. And so sometimes they can be so fixated on trying to get that image just right externally to project out to other people that they don't understand that there's something more inside them. All right, so that's the heart types, or the feeling types. All right, and so now let's take a quick look at the 3rd group. All right, the thinking types, the 5s, 6s, and 7s. They're also called the head types. Guess why? Because, thinking goes on in the head for the most part. And they are associated with the emotion of fear. Okay, so they're very concerned with guidance and with safety. Those are things that they think about quite a lot, and they tend to get stuck in their heads because they're thinking life through, right? They're trying to figure out what the rules are a lot of the time. So 6s will get stuck in their heads because they're having such a hard time making decisions, because they're trying to see this side, they're trying to see that side, and they don't feel like they have enough guidance, and so it's really hard to come to a conclusion. 7s get stuck in their heads by planning and having all these great ideas about what they're going to do, to the point where they think about a lot more than they actually accomplish, but they have a lot of great ideas. And then 5s get stuck in their heads by researching and becoming an expert at something, and so they'll retreat from the world and really focus on one concept, on one field of study, and they tend to become experts. In fact, that's one of the names that is given to 5s, is the expert. So the fascinating thing is that research actually has shown that there are 3 brains. There are 3 ways of knowing, as it were. So I'm going to read you this quote. It's pretty cool. Robert Cooper of Stanford Business School points out that we have 3 brains, one in our head, one in the gut, and one in the heart, all with massive numbers of neurons. He claims that when all three brains work together, they produce the highest level of reasoning. This is not a new idea. The three centers of intelligence have been taught since Plato's time. So there's definitely this idea that the ancients have had, that they noticed, it's been going on a long time, that, hey, there are three ways that we process the world, that we take in information and try to understand it. So why is this important? Okay, what does this have to do with self-awareness? What does this have to do with spiritual formation and growth, with personal development? Because of what this quote said, when all three brains work together, they produce the highest level of reasoning. The way that I see that is also that when all three centers are functioning together, right, the head, the heart, and the gut, then you have a fuller experience of life. You're not solely processing things with your brain to the exclusion of your heart and your body. You're not processing things merely with your gut, so that you're just reacting all the time and you're trying to resist reality all the time, but you're allowing the other two influences to come in and help balance out what it is that you're thinking about, okay, or trying to do, or trying to process. This has to do with all kinds of ways of processing things, with processing grief, processing sadness, joy, decision making, just every part of human experience. All right. So there's a lot that can be said on this topic, and I've actually written several blog posts about the centers of intelligence. So if you go to uncoverediscovery.com and just do a search for the three centers, or head, heart, gut, you'll see some more information there. And I just want to finish by reading this wonderful little, it's sort of a prayer that the Enneagram Institute begins many of its workshops with. That is the organization that I'm getting certified through, and I think it's a great organization. I encourage you to check them out if you want to know more about the really fantastic Enneagram personality model. You can go to enneagraminstitute.com, and here is the little, it's called Enneagram Invocation. I now remember that I am here in the present, here and present in the moment. I am grounded, alive, and connected in my body. I am open and receptive to the truth and compassion of my heart. I am clear and awake to the stillness of mind. I bear witness to the presence of the One. And of course, the One for me is God, because I teach the Enneagram from a Christian perspective. So you can see here in this invocation that they are referring to each part, body, heart, and mind, that they are all online, as it were, and that they are all functioning together. And when all three are functioning together, it's much easier to bear witness to the presence of God. It's much easier to be in the presence of God and to move through the world with a greater balance, a greater sense of eternity, a greater sense of awareness of every moment, instead of sleepwalking through a great part of your life, as most of us tend to do when we're operating in our default mode, which is our personality. So I hope this was interesting to you, and I just encourage you to look more into this if you want to. If you want to ask me any questions, you certainly can do it through Twitter, through Facebook, through my blog. I've given you all that information. And you can even email me as well at heath@uncoverydiscovery.com. All right, till next time, blessings on your journey.